program today, we look at how the austerity measures in our countries are faring so far. We also get into agriculture, but this time we focus on aquaculture and livestock. How are those two sectors of agribusiness bringing in to the agriculture sector? We look at the automobile industry in our country as Toyota and Suzuki have come up together to launch 3 vehicles, and what are they doing? What is their special feature? We are not leaving out the creatives when it comes to generating income for the Zambian people. Let's find out what the National Arts Council is doing in order to make sure that the creatives are getting that income. These and more on Business Day. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Business Day and I am Judy Ngulube. We start off with finding out how the National Arts Council has gathered a forum that will make sure that the creatives in our country are business-minded, are creating, but as well as making an income from their creative products. I'm very glad to have Mr. Victor Siamuzulu, who is the Arts Business Forum Committee member, who is going to tell us what this forum is going to be about and give us details of are the creatives able to be business-minded. Thank you so much for coming to Business Day. How are you?
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Let's start with something that's going to be happening on the 12th and 14th of June, organized by the National Arts Council. What is this all about? How did it come about, first of all?
Yeah, this came about, as you know, we were trying to create the art in the business sector, how they get involved, how they get able to create wealth, and how we can be able to get artists and different people, depending on the different genres that they are involved in, how they can make a brand out of their sector.
So how has the response been so far from the creatives themselves?
Yeah, the response has been overwhelming. We had over 200 people who had subscribed over the internet when we sent out a form, and out of that we were only supposed to choose 100. As you know, financially we have to budget for it, and so the total number actually comes to 400, but the 100 are what we opened up to anyone who wanted to participate.
Okay. How much potential do you think creatives can add to Zambia's economic pool of income, of money generation? Because when you look at how artists, musicians, and basically even the ministry being put up to help these creatives, most of the things that come out is it's a talent, it's a passion, and they won't look at it as money spinner.
Yeah.
Roughly what percentage can the creatives contribute to Zambia's economy?
Yeah, seriously speaking, if you look at it over a weekend, let's say for argument's sake, I give you an example of the Mosi Day of Thunder in Livingstone. If you go that week in Livingstone, you can't find accommodation. All the lodges are booked, the hotels are booked. You find all the buses going to Livingstone are fully booked, simply showing you to say a certain group of the country or the sector of the country has actually traveled to Livingstone, and imagine what business potential has gone into that sector. So we are able to push numbers, just that we need to bring it out more often and be able to identify now to say, look at the potential it has brought in. For me, actually, I think, frankly speaking, if we do it better, we can even account for maybe even 20% of what we're able to put into the economy.
That's impressive. Let's talk about the stakeholders involved in this. Who else is in this forum? Yeah, I know you've already mentioned ZAM.
Yeah, so it's actually all the associations of the different genres of arts. All of them actually are involved. Then we have also people we have invited to come in, like from government as well. And then we have also people who have partnered with, talking people like our biggest sponsor this time is the European Union. Then we have like PEP Zambia. Then we have HIVOS. We have the British Council. We have people like Building Society also trying to come in to talk about people where they can have galleries, and we are still in talk with them. So there are many partners that have come on board. Some who have come financially, some who have come in different forms as well, just to offer support.
From your interactions, I know you wear many hats.
Yeah.
In your other hat, you interact with the creatives a lot.
Yes.
Do you think Zambia is ready with their various artists to be business people to have business teams to run their operations. Not only are they churning out this passion, this talent, but to create an income from it. Are we ready?
Yeah, when you think about it, what's unfortunate is because remember, as an artist, let's say you brand yourself to say, I'm going to put myself at a brand of, let's say, I'm worth $2,000 or whether it's 20,000 kwacha. I have to weigh my talent against who's going to get me at that value. So at a certain point, when you talk of the branding aspect, you find that we now have to decide how much am I going to value myself at, and am I able to get an income at the end of the day? Because remember, at the end of the day, for some, they don't do any other thing. That's all they do, and that's where they feed their families from. And looking at the bread and butter, they need to find a way of cutting across and bridging that gap. And frankly speaking, I should say, we are encouraging them, and most of them are actually seeing the potential, and they're able to see the finance that they get from different shows, and be able to see, like I said, we need to now bring in the banking sector and the marketing sector, so that as they create the brand, they are able to see the value. That, because if you think about, I'll give you an example of Danica. Danica is a person who has branded mineral water, which is Vashiniza. So you see, because of people who know Dani, sometimes I would buy the water not just because I wanted water, I wanted another brand of water, but I look at, this is my fellow artist, this is my fellow, I'll buy that water and value. And for them, it's actually easier to create something. Look at the international artists, the way they create the perfumes, the wines. It's easy because there's already a name to it. People know the name.
All you need to do is maximize on that.
Maximize on it, because you already have an advantage.
Already, yeah. I appreciate you coming through to Business Day.
No, thank you very much.
Okay. I have been talking to Mr. Victor Siamuzulu. He's Arts Business Forum committee member, giving us an insight of how the creatives should maximize on their brands and create an income, not only for themselves, but when it comes to just looking at it on a national level, an income for Zambia as well. You're watching Business Day. Thank you so much for still watching Business Day. We move on to issues that were emphasized in the 7th National Development Plan, which is austerity measures, meaning that the whole country's economy and the spending as well as budgeting of our country, Zambia, should be looked at in a way that will not only save money, but also make sure that the spending of the whole nation is looked at in austerity measures kind of arrangement. Now, these austerity measures are in every sector and every ministry of Zambia's economy. How are these austerity measures panning out? What are they bringing out? How are they helping Zambia? Is there anything being gotten out of the austerity measures so far? TV2's Morning Live did speak to the Permanent Secretary of Finance, Chikuba, who also gave an insight on what has been happening in regards to finances.
The measures that government has taken in 4 or 5 major areas. The first one is in the area of the fiscal sector. And in the fiscal sector, largely this year we've cut the budget on implementation or the cost of running business, if I could say. And that's, if you look at last year's budget compared to this year's budget, there's a reduction in that area. But with what has been happening and the measures that were taken in the fiscal, one is to try and bring down the deficit. The deficit has been high, around 7.6 last year, this year 6.5, and we are looking to bring it down to what we call a sustainable level. And a sustainable level of a deficit is anything for Zambia's economy between 3 and 4. And so the measures are meant to try and achieve that downward trend in terms of the deficit. And then there are issues about liquidity. You hear about liquidity being tight in the market. Again, we're trying to address the issue of liquidity, because liquidity is important for the running of business and just generally for the economy to run. And liquidity challenges are coming up because the arrears are high that government is owing, as it were. So what we're doing is to try and cut expenditures And those expenditures is in debt. When we say cancel, postpone, and manage the implementation of projects, is to try and ensure that the deficit comes down. So the deficit is the financing that comes into the budget. And when you talk about that component, really is a component of external financing that is coming into the budget and causing these huge deficits, which is huge spending. In short, the deficit is spending. We are trying to roll back the arrears. So austerity measures, yes, are not new. They have been implemented since the Economic Stabilization and Growth Program. They've been implemented since the measures that were announced mid of last year. And some progress has been recorded. One is that there are some issues that have come up post the implementation of the austerity measures. So in terms of what we had expected with the first time that we implemented measures, that has not materialized. And yes, growth is slower, I should accept. The deficit, if you see where we ended in 2016, 7.9, 7.6 last year, and this year 6.5. So there is some improvement, but not as much as one would want. I've indicated that we want to reach a level of 3 to 4%. Maybe I share some information with you. A lot has changed since austerity measures were mentioned. For example, as permanent secretary, I was entitled to a personal to order vehicle. I was entitled to a utility vehicle. I was entitled to fuel in the vehicles. So what it is now is that the vehicle that I am driving is a Ministry of Finance vehicle. If I leave office, it will remain in the office. If I want my car, I have to go to the microfinance bank, get a loan, and buy a car from there, and government gives me a maintenance allowance. So a lot has changed, even for our conditions of service.
Thank you so much for still watching Business Day. Agriculture is one of those sectors that have been highlighted as those that will move Zambia's economy from one level to another. The other would be mining as well as tourism. But when you zero in on agriculture, a lot has been going on. One of these things is diversification, not only looking at crop agriculture, but agribusiness shifting to the issue of aquaculture as well as livestock. These are the two sectors of agriculture that have been diversifying and forming cooperatives to ensure that there's movement in aquaculture and livestock. I caught up with two cooperatives who are involved in aquaculture and livestock. How are these two sectors operating, and how are these two sectors seeming to be beneficial for the agriculture sector?
Our cooperative, anyway, we started in 2013 with 47 members. Then from there we increased up to 200, 150 active members. Our plan, as we have sourced the grants to buy 80 animals. So from there, maybe after 2 years, those calves also they will give another 80. So plus that 80, which we will buy, then they will give us 80 calves. Then those calves also they give birth, then it will increase. So now we will cater all members. So by extending person, increasing of animals in the agriculture sector, it helps us much because as we produce milk, people are earning every month, so that it is easy for them to access money to take his children to school, also hospital and other like building houses. And like now, with that indigenous cows we have, people they are trying or they are level based, but they can't reach that standard. So that's why now we have come with a decision to buy cross so that we can increase that gap since the Parmalat, we are selling to Parmalat.
We are trying to add value to whatever we are producing. So we have plans already to try and look at how can we further process what we are producing. And then also on the profit side, aquaculture, I would like to now speak to all those that are procrastinating, thinking, should I not? I want to encourage them that they need to venture into aquaculture for a simple reason that, one, it's kind to the pocket. You know, as a business person, you want to cut as much as possible your production cost so that you can maximize the profit side of things. So the investment is not that high. And then the management is also, it doesn't demand a lot. So for example, if you are producing 10,000 pieces of fish, you realize a gross profit of something like 100,000 if you are selling at 30 kwacha per kg. And then you will have invested somewhere in the region of 12 to 15,000 kwacha. So as you can see, that kind of profit margin, I don't know which other business can compete with aquaculture.
Thank you so much for still watching Business Day. We've just seen aquaculture as well, the livestock cooperatives making the best of what they have received in regards to maximizing on the funds and making sure that their cooperatives give what is supposed to be given to aquaculture as well as livestock, maximizing on the agriculture sector. We move on to the automobile industry. Zambia may not have an industry or factories that create cars in our own country, but they have investment that comes through and produces these cars. Toyota and Suzuki have partnered to launch 3 cars at the same time. Now, these 3 cars will accommodate not only the high end, but the middle class as well. They have a special feature that will make sure that the environment is also taken care of, as these have emissions that are green and friendly to the environment. I went to this launch and caught up with the Minister of Infrastructure, who was the officiating minister there, as well as Toyota MD and Suzuki representative, Suzuki Jr. himself. This is what they had to say. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very good.
Congratulations on your launch, firstly.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited.
In your speech, you mentioned that Africa is your second biggest market from India.
That's right.
What mostly is Africa buying from Suzuki?
Africa is a continent of opportunities. The population is so large now, 1 billion, which will become 2.5 billion by 2050. That is the power of Africa. I believe Africa will become dominant in economy, culture by that time.
When you look at your cars, this range that you've actually launched today, it has a feature of green, the climate change, taking care of the environment. Is that very important for Suzuki?
That's right. Japanese has a mind of mottainai. Mottainai means we don't want to waste something. So Japan does not produce any oil, no natural resources. So we are very good at making things very efficiently. And I wish such a spirit can be utilized in Africa. We use small resources but make big results.
Why 3 cars at a go for this unveiling, for the launch?
I see. We have a wide lineups. We have 15 models, but always we start in small, then gradually expand our business. That's our way.
Suzuki and Toyota and Suzuki have a marriage, which they're working on to ensure compact car availability in the Toyota range. It's not something that Toyota's done very well in the past. It's not as affordable as what the Suzuki range comes out with. So that's why they're looking to develop that. Toyota's trying to provide the total solution for the whole car market. Whether you're buying a Land Cruiser or whether you're buying a Alto, and to ensure that we can provide a solution for every owner, whether they're buying a car for the first time, whether it's a student buying a car for the first time, or whether it's a minister buying a Land Cruiser. And the other thing we want to do is make sure we've got proximity for people to service. So whether you're in Mongu or Chipata or Kasama, you can get service anywhere, and to the right level of a multinational, which is Toyota's level of service. The difference between your buyers in this market is what they can afford. And generally your person's going to take, if they want to go and buy a car for $20,000, they will maybe go and buy a used import, because they're getting a bigger car, which they cannot guarantee. They don't know how much trouble it's going to give them. Or they can take their money and go and buy a brand new car in a Suzuki range, which they know they've got a 3-year warranty, 100,000 kilometer, and it's backed by the top brand in the country.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for accepting us to steal some time from you on this launch. When we talk about the automobile industry in our country and what it's bringing in, how is the government maximizing on these investments that are coming through via automobile?
Thank you very much. I think that we are getting benefits in a number of ways. First and foremost, I think the dealers themselves are creating businesses which are creating employment to our people. And of course, these businesses need to be serviced, and you know that products and services have to be moved. And we use these automobiles to move our products and services. So clearly, the utilization of these motor vehicles, as well as the actual businesses created by virtue of trading these motor vehicles, is a lot of benefits to the nation. You can imagine how long it would take to take a service to Copper Belt without a motor vehicle. So, and I mean from Lusaka, I don't mean from one Copper Belt town to another, but say from Lusaka, from Kasama, from Solwezi, it can take you forever. So these motor vehicles have eased doing business, which is very important. And so I think in so many ways we are getting benefits.
From your speech, you pointed out something that is very interesting, climate change and how this range of vehicles that have been brought to us is actually having features that are easy on the environment, making sure that some of these companies that are coming through have got the green policy with it. For the Zambian government, sustainable development, having to bring in the environment, something enshrined in the 7th National Development Plan. How vital is this for us?
I think, speaking for me, I feel that every innovation that eases the pressure on the environment is key for the future of our country. His Excellency the President himself going out every Saturday of every last Saturday of the month, sensitizing how important it is to maintain our environment. It sends a message. And so when we have this technology which is reducing pollution, we are assuring the future. We are ensuring that this planet can maintain its capabilities to, to render the services we are getting ourselves 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So I see this as vital, and I can join His Excellency the President in commending innovation that is aimed at making sure that our environment is kept green and clean.
That is what wraps up our business day for today. Thank you so much for having stayed with us. Join us next week at the same time for more business items. On behalf of the entire production crew, I am Judy Ngulube.